And then on top of that, you have the symbiote that comes and attaches to him and makes him more aggressive, vengeful, and just flat out mean spirited. And overall, this is really why I like Sony Spider-Man, especially Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy over the MCU Spider-Man. Is that just because it's just flat out his character is dealing with so much more. Like
Hmm.
he really goes through a torture chamber throughout this trilogy. He goes through so much. I just feel like Tom Holland's character. Yes, he loses Tony Stark, but there's just not near as much emotional material here. No one not many people die. Have you ever noticed that in this, especially like in the solo Spider-Man movies in the MCU? No one
Hmm.
really dies. You have Tony Stark die, but that's an Endgame. But no
Yeah,
one
the main
actually
thing missing
dies.
from the MCU Spider-Man is the loss.
Yeah,
Because
there is
that's
no
kind
sense
of
of
the whole
loss.
thing about Spider-Man, that the whole thing about Spider-Man is the fact that he is a character driven by what he's lost in this world.
Yeah,
His parents died when he was young. His uncle dies when he decides to use his powers to get money rather than save people, and he ends up being responsible for his uncle dying,
yeah,
because he let the killer go.
right.
So it ends up being this thing where we don't have that in the MCU. They're trying to make up for it now with the whole Tony Stark thing,
Yes,
but it
but I
just
just not
doesn't
enough.
work. I mean, you got to understand, Spider-Man in the comics, he loses. Okay, so he loses Uncle Ben. Then Gwen Stacy's his girlfriend, and he accidentally kills her
Hmm.
in the comics, just like he did in the Amazing Spider-Man
Spider-Man
movies.
2. Yeah,
In Amazing Spider-Man 2. That actually
yeah,
happens in the comic, and that happened when he fought Green Goblin, and they recreated that scene in the first Sam Raimi movie where the Green Goblin's holding Mary Jane here and holding a bunch of hostages over here,
yeah.
and he drops them both. And in the comics, he does the same move, but he accidentally kills Gwen Stacy.
Hmm.
So everyone's like, "Oh my God, are they going to kill Mary Jane?" When, as a comic fan, when you're watching the scene,
I
I'm
see.
sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, are they going to kill Mary Jane in this first film?"
Yeah. I
So
gotcha. Wow.
he's just a character who's like inundated with everything he does just doesn't work out perfect, and he just has this crazy sense of loss because he's lost his uncle, he's lost his girlfriend, he's lost other people who help him out. I was writing a fan fiction for a website for a while ago with Spider-Man, and I was writing the Spider-Man character for this website, and dude, the amount that he lost in that, you figure how many of his professors and mentors turn into villains,
Hmm.
things like that. You have Doc Ock, you have Dr. Connors becoming a lizard. These are people who are extremely close to Peter in the comics becoming villains, and he ends up having to put them down. You know, um,
Yeah.
Even Green Goblin, he loses his friend goes crazy, becomes the next Green Goblin, Harry. So yeah, he's just a character who's inundated with loss, and they have not covered that in the MCU. We don't know what happened to Uncle Ben there. I think they're always going to leave it a mystery. We're never going to find out. And it's just this thing where this is what this is a defining thing of Spider-Man.
Hmm.
So it's hard to watch the MCU version. I enjoy it, but just because it's fun, not because depth of character, you
Yeah.
know?